Are you like most sales and other professionals who want to grow their wealth faster than what they are currently doing through their company 401k, even with that company match, the stock market, or just plain saving money? Would you sleep better at night if you had the financial freedom to be job optional in just 3 to 5 years through investing in real assets? Maybe you don't want to stop working, but wouldn't it be cool if you could retire a decade earlier than most and do the traveling you and your family have planned for years while you're still young and can enjoy it? Let's face it, most busy professionals don't have the time or desire to take on more work outside of their W-2 to grow their wealth. On The Wealth Flow, each week we share the stories, the investments, and take a deep dive into the various asset classes that can deliver that accelerated growth to your portfolio passively. That's right, no extra work for you. Instead, we'll put your money to work. Learn what the 95% aren't talking about and join the top 5% of earners today on The Wealth Flow.
All right. Welcome to another episode of The Wealth Flow. And I'm super excited about today's guest, Mr. Brandon Thompson. Brandon has over 20 years of experience in the real estate space. He has a real estate brokerage with his wife, Tiffany. He's flipped over 2,000 homes and currently has 21 short-term rentals. And also does new construction as well. So a little bit of everything under the sun, and I'm probably missing some stuff. So excited to hear your story, Brandon, and share with the audience a little bit more about yourself. So welcome to the show, first of all.
Well, thank you for having me here, Keith, and it's a pleasure. It's always to chat with you. So thank you. Yeah,
absolutely. So if we could maybe just start from the beginning, Brandon, tell us a little bit about, where you grew up, what got you into real estate, all that good stuff, and what all you've done in the space.
Yeah. So I'll try to make a long story quick, but grew up in rural West Georgia, which is west down I-20 outside of Atlanta, heading towards Alabama. So kind of like directly in between Birmingham and Atlanta on the Georgia side. And back when I was growing up, it was just more of an impoverished kind of area, very, very rural. Now today it's being revitalized. It's thriving. We got breweries downtown and things like that. But anyways, long story short, we moved out here when I was young. My parents raised me in a trailer park until the age of 10. And around 10, they got a little 1,200 square foot home that we were raised in from the time of that age to the time I moved out. And yeah, I mean, pretty much just didn't have a lot of money growing up. My parents worked 9 to 5 blue collar jobs, but there wasn't a lot left over. And I mean, we were so poor. I could tell you a story real quick. They bought a pizza from somewhere, maybe like Pizza Hut or something, and my mom and dad were just so excited to have pizza, bring home to the kids, myself, my sister, and the pizza. They jumped out of the vehicle with the pizza, and then somehow the pizza fell on the ground. Well, that was everything to them, and they didn't have a lot of money to get another one, so they had to dust off the pizza, and then we had to eat the pizza with dirt on it because obviously you can't get all of it out of the cheese. So that was really interesting. But yeah. So flash forward several years. Did a little bit of sales throughout high school. Met my wife now during high school. She grew up in another trailer park, and I sold shoes at Foot Locker. I sold Kirby vacuum cleaners. I went around when I was 12 years old, cutting grass for $20 a yard. So I did a lot of sales and things like that. So I wanted to go to college. I graduated with a 4.05 in high school. And I decided that, I wanted to go for economics and mass communications, but Atlanta just did not have any kind of film industry and or any kind of big job for economics, per se. Obviously that's different 20 something years later. But with that said, back then I just didn't see any future. So I dropped out after a semester in college. In that time, my wife and I had gotten married. We moved out of our parents' house, rented an apartment or a townhome in a townhome community. And then we bought a house. Essentially, she was making money, good money at her job. I was self-employed, but we both dropped out of college. She would go off for nursing school. I was doing what I was doing. And we realized we just wanted to buy a house. We didn't want to live in this townhome that we were living in, this rental apartment. And we connected with a local realtor, and the realtor showed us 3 homes, and we contracted it and made like $7,000 or so. I'm like, man, my God, if this lady can do this, well, I can do it. And I can do it a lot better, and I can make a ton of money. So that was kind of the start of my career. At like 20 years old, I bought a home. I saw how much money a realtor could make. That was a lot of money for me back then. Little did I know that she split that with the other realtor. One side got $3,500, the other side got $3,500. And I had to learn a lot through the process. But with that said, and I'll wrap it up at this. With that said, we bought this house. I got my real estate license. I connected with a local brokerage, realized that after about 9 months of working with home buyers, I did not want to work with home buyers. So I went to I researched a local brokerage and found 2 guys that were flipping houses. And in 2001, 2002, you didn't ever hear of anybody flipping houses. This was before social media. This was before YouTube. This was before all this stuff, courses and HGTV shows. None of that existed. So nobody knew what flipping houses was, but I heard that you can make good money doing it. Probably saw some kind of advertisement, and I'm like, man, I want to do this. I called a friend up and said, hey, I'm thinking about switching brokerage, put my licenses where other people are doing this and learning how to flip homes. Do you want to do this with me? He's like, no, man, flipping homes. Like, I'm not interested in that. I'm going to go, he sold pizzas with me. He's like, I won't keep on selling pizzas. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And pretty much moved to that brokerage, went to these guys and said, teach me everything you know. And I helped them along in the process. They taught me how to flip homes. And within a year, I was doing that on my own. And then since then, did everything. We've wholesaled apartment buildings. We flipped 2,000 homes. We've had over 100 long-term rentals. We got 20 plus short-term rentals now. We're managing short-term rentals, podcast, you name it. We've done it, commercial redevelopment, all of it. So that's pretty much it. And I'm kind of very thankful that I started at a young age, 20 years old. I've never been employed, past the age of, call it 18, and never looked back and never will. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know just in talking with you, you've been doing this long enough that you've been through the ups and the downs, right? You want to talk a little bit about the 2007, 2008 timeframe. I too was full time, had just actually opened my brokerage during that timeframe, and I'm not sure if this was across the board, although I think it probably was. But somebody just turned a spigot off with my income, and it was it was a rough time. And I know right now we're kind of going through a little bit of a rough time, so maybe good to hear some stories of somebody who's been through it, maybe not gotten out unscarred, but went through it and is still at it. So,
yeah. So from 20 to 27, we were real estate agents, flipped houses, 10 to 12 homes a year. I had acquired 20 rental homes, long-term rentals. And, I guess I was spending more than I was making. So, or at least maybe I don't think I even really made that much flipping homes. It was before like a big economic boom like we've seen over the last several years. But the profit used to be like normal, like $10,000 to $25,000 on a flip property. Now people can make 100, 200,000 plus sometimes. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of money and we had so much exposure, and I didn't ever hear about, wealth falls. And like the number one wealth fall is you need to keep 10 to 12% of your balance sheet, your net worth in cash. And I just didn't have that in cash. I had like a $2 million net worth on paper, and I probably had like $10,000 in the bank. So I was definitely like very little in the bank, and I was overexposed to the market. When the market shifted, it got really, really bad. Well, I had created monopoly kind of say, teaching people from my church how to do what I was doing. So I flipped a bunch of homes. I had rentals. I was in construction. I was a real estate guy, and everybody looked up to me. And you got to still think this was still before YouTube, social media, HDTV, and everybody just thought it was exotic back then. Now it's kind of like anybody you go online, anybody's out there flipping a house and got some kind of ties to real estate, every fourth person. So, but not back then. This was like 2007 going into 2008. And at that point, there was a lot of quantitative tightening. Everything went to hell in a handbasket pretty quick. And I didn't have a lot of cash. So I went back to my banker and said, hey, look, I've been helping you guys bring in a lot of customers in here. I've got my personal house with you guys. I've got X amount of properties with you. Then I had 3 or 4 community banks I was working with. I said, I really want to work out some kind of payment plan and extension on these contracts because my notes were coming due. And, construction notes, you're typically 6 months to 12 months in a duration, and then they end. Well, 3 out of 4 banks said, yes, we'll work with you. But one said no. And that was the one where I kept my primary mortgage with and my operating capital and my personal checkbook. So they said no. And I'm like, why not? And went to the banker and said, why not? He's like, well, we know how much you owe on your house, and you owe $7,000 in your primary residence. And today's time it's worth $250,000. And you got 3 notes with us, and you brought all these other people to us, and somebody's got to take a fall so that nobody else, gets the idea that they come in here and give property back. So you're going to have to go in and pay these off within 30 days. And if you can't, we're going to file a suit against you and file a judgment against you. And I said, well, this is crazy. Like, I'll do what I can do to try to get these out. Well, granted, I still had great credit. I had $10,000, $12,000 in the bank, great tax returns, but there was so much quantitative tightening back then, kind of very eerily similar as probably the last 6 months. And sure, bankers just didn't want my loans. They didn't want my loans. And I got 3 or 4 denial letters, like never had a denial letter my whole life. And they said, you're unworthy. We're not going to give a self-employed real estate professional money right now. And if we did, it wouldn't be you because you just don't have a lot of money. So that's that. I'm like, okay, well, I get it. I understand. So I went back and brought the denial letter, set up a meeting with the president of the bank. I went back to the bank on a certain date and time and said, hey, look, this is where I'm at. And actually, I called him. I said, this is where I'm at. I need to meet with you. And little did I know, I took an hour to go out to this community bank because it was a little further up the road than I normally businessed with. But they gave me good deals back in the day. But I went all the way to their branch, and they had a boardroom. They had the whole board there. Like, you had a 27-year-old kid, your 27-year-old kid here sitting in a room of 40 to 50-year-old men that have made it. And it's very oppressive feeling. You're unconfident. You're not really confident. You're like going in this, like, what the hell is going on? Everybody's staring at me, and it was kind of nerve wracking. But I walk in, and they bring me to this meeting, and they literally told me, hey, Brandon, we realize that you are 2 days late on your mortgage payment. We have got your rent. Here's your rent payment. We're not going to cash it. We are going to call your note due. And on top of that, we've already cross-collateralized all of your properties, including your primary residence, because there's a lot of equity there. And we're going to take that down and apply all the equity after we foreclose on this on your primary residence, and put that into your other notes, the homes that you built and the homes that you did this and that with. And if there is a deficiency on any of those notes when we go to sell them, we're going to, sue you and slap you with a judgment. By the way, we're already starting the proceedings now. I'm like, oh, well, dang. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to go into bankruptcy. I'm going to file bankruptcy, and you're never going to dime from me. And they just all looked at me and said, do what you got to do. So it only takes one bank. It only takes one bank.
Right.
And when you think you're safe, you may not be safe. So let's go back to that wealth rule number 1. You got to keep 10 to 12% of cash in your net worth into your savings. And then you also need to make sure that you don't have any short-term notes coming due when this stuff hits the fan, kind of like the last 6 months. With that said, to end this long story, Yeah, it felt like I was going back to the trailer park. So I went home crying that day, telling my wife, hey, they just take all our money out of our account. We were literally penniless overnight. That was where our main banking was. They called like 3 notes due on some rentals and construction properties we had. Our primary residence was being foreclosed on. And I said, we're going to have to file bankruptcy. So I literally went home crying, and literally we went, I think this is about when online banking was starting to come on to mainstream. So we went on online banking, and we had no money. We called the 1-800 number. There was no money. And we went penniless overnight. So flash forward a couple months, I'm thinking maybe I'll ride this out. Maybe they won't do anything. Of course, we start getting letters in, and it got really, really terrifying. So I called a friend up, said, hey, this is what's happening. I'm losing everything. I'd like to rent from you. I know you got some properties. It's kind of tough right now. I know how to make money. I can go sell real estate. I can go do property management, et cetera, et cetera. He's like, yeah, come on, man. Here's the rent, $900 a month. And I ended up renting from my friend. So it's like poverty became real, though. Again, for the second time, like I grew up impoverished. And then now I didn't have anything to show for my 7 years of working in the real estate industry. $2 million net worth, very little equity because all the values, actually no equity. I was negative equity because at this point, going in 2008 to 2009, equity had chopped in the Georgia market by 50%. So I had negative equity and then didn't come back for several years.
Wow.
So we pretty much just lost everything and had to rent from a friend, and that was it. I had to start all over again, and I hated real estate for about a year. But we trudged through. So that was kind of the backstory there.
Yeah, that's, that's painful. Painful but some good lessons there for sure, right? You just never know. I mean, you're seeing that right now, as you mentioned, a lot of folks with bridge debt, that kind of thing, that have to do something, I think I heard the other day, there's, $2 billion in commercial notes that are going to come due over the next 2 years, which, to try to have to refinance at today's rates, that's going to be painful for some folks for sure.
Yeah. And lenders are going to require more money back, and those will be capital calls for multifamily and things like that. And it's not going to work out. It's going to piss off investors. I think Brad Summerott, not the name of the guy, I think he's probably a wonderful teacher, but one of his students is walking away from an apartment building right now because of the things that Brad taught them. But what they don't understand is they've never gone there new as of the last 4 or 5 years in real estate and exciting in the bull market. They don't know to keep as much money in cash because they raise from investors, but they don't keep a hedge of cash even in their operating account. And then on top of that, a lot of these guys are just buying and selling stuff and just really selling stuff to these investors and really worried about their acquisition fees. When it boils down to it, everybody's being sold a bag of goods. Either debt is good or debt is bad. There's really no in between. It's either good or bad. If you're profiting, you're profiting. If you're losing, you're losing. I think you have to have a lot of money in the bank. You have to have a lot of equity. Like right now on my portfolio, mostly short-term rentals, some commercial, we've got 30 to 50% equity on every single deal. So God forbid, I don't think it's ever going to happen in our lifetime, but if we had some kind of crazy freak of nature economic storm where we lost 40, 50% of values, I'd probably be okay. I probably wouldn't be upside down. Now, at best, we're seeing in major metropolitan market 10% of decline. Georgia, nothing. Like we're maybe 2% tops. I mean, we're not really seeing a decline here. It's a different storm we're in right now, which I'm very thankful for because it did happen really, really quick. Could have brought a lot of people under. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on that, we probably get another year of interesting stories about to come out.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree on that. Well, let's talk a little bit about your rebuild. When and how did you get back into it? And tell us a little bit about what's happened since.
Yeah. So 2008, 2009, renting from a friend, later part of 2009, I'm like, I just wanted to be off on my own. I didn't want to sell real estate anymore. I didn't want to be around people. So I started applying for banks, applying to banks, getting REO listing, bank listing, foreclosures, essentially. We were doing a lot of broker priced opinions, which is basically a short appraisal by a realtor versus a licensed appraiser. We did that for banks, and we signed up with a ton of banks, and they gave us a bunch of shadow inventory. And, we would sell some of these and make, great commissions, and it fed us. I mean, I think we went from making $150,000 a year to first year we weren't making a lot of money to making $30,000 in that first year's post recession.
Oh, wow.
It was just a very, very significant decrease in pay. It was like, dang, I was working my butt off. My wife was too. We were working 24/7. We had small kids as well. But yeah, the rebuild started when those listings started coming in, and I'm like seeing some of these prices. I'm like, this is shocking how low these are. So I told you I created a monopoly prior to the recession. I brought all my friends and church to these banks. But what I did was, and I'm going to connect the dots in a minute, prior to the recession, I brought all these people into the banks, and I said, hey, by the way, not only do I get your commercial lending, I can be your realtor. I can find you the property. We can, we also have a construction company. If you want us to remodel the property, we can remodel the property. When you're done with it, we can market the property for sale and flip it for you. And or we can rent it out and get a commission that way. By the way, I've got my loan officer's license. I can help you get a long term mortgage as well. So we literally had the one-stop shop prior to the 2008 recession. Post recession, I didn't have any of that, but I still had my relationships. Well, one of those guys that I was working with and I put all those different systems in place with became my future business partner post recession. And we worked together for right at 10 years. But what happened was I got all these foreclosures, and one of them was 25 townhomes in the townhome community that Tiffany and I had lived in our first home together that we were renting. And they came in, they were giving us broker priced opinions. I was telling them that they were worth $18,000 to $25,000. And then they said, hey, we want to list them for $15,000 to $18,000 to move them to get liquidity. I guess the banks were hurting back then. Let's just get some liquidity. I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot of money to be made here. So I called my old business partner. I mean, we had wholesaled a couple properties, but never went corporately in together as business partners. But I called this gentleman by the name of Will, and I said, hey, I think we can connect the dots here. We can wholesale this. We wholesaled a couple of properties prior to 2008. Why couldn't we sell this to some of the people I've got the inside track. You don't have to put them on the market yet. We can kind of do things and work with the banks to get these for ourselves without the competition. So let's just try to get them on a contract. He's like, let's try it. So we contracted them. Here again, 2008, Facebook maybe just starting to come out. You still don't have social media. You don't have HGTV. You don't have any of that stuff still. So I didn't know about wholesaling, really. And now if everybody knows about wholesaling, but we contracted these properties. We sent offers to the bank, for $11,000 a piece. They contracted with us at $12,000 a piece, and it was a 2-week cash close. We didn't know anything about anything. We had to come up with $5,000 in non-refundable earnest money within a week. And then in 2 weeks, we had to come up with cash to buy everything. And I just lost everything. My former business partner had just pretty much drained his accounts, and he went through a double lung collapse. He had no money whatsoever either. We didn't have a nickel, 2 nickels make a dime kind of thing. So what we did was we called an attorney. Then we called another attorney, and everybody's like completely against us. But we found one attorney that would do a double transaction, A to B funding, after the B to C has closed. And when the B to C is funded, they'll pay the A to B and then pay us off kind of thing. So what we did, we contracted these for $12,000, $13,000 a piece. We sold them for $25,000 to $30,000 a piece, all paper. But we were like, we had a lot of people interested. How we did that was we held an open house, went into this community. This story is really important in my career. We went into this area, held an open house, brought in 20 plus investors, and we sold 2 blocks of 2 and 3, onesies here, 3, 4 there. And we charged $1,000 non-refundable earnest money per property to these investors. So we just realized at the end of the week, now we got $25,000. We had to pay $5,000 back to the bank. If the crap hits the fan, this is non-refundable earnest money. We had the rights, and we collected $20,000. We could split it, $10,000, $10,000. That's worst case scenario. If best case scenario, this goes through, we pull in $150,000 to $200,000 possibly. When you add my commissions, and I was going to split that with Will. And a week later, we funded it with a double pass-through transactional funding, and or flow-through funding, and we walked away with 6 figures to split. And then I'm looking at Will, he's looking at me. We're like, my God, that's the easiest money we've ever made. It wasn't easy, but it was like the fastest, most incredible, large bucket of money we've ever made. And it boosts your confidence. It boosts your beliefs. And then it happened over and over and over again for 2 years. We started having properties coming into me, as a listing agent, and the banks were dumping them, getting rid of them for next to nothing. We had investor relationships, built. We called people. It was back when you called people instead of sending out emails through MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or posting them on Facebook groups. We had to call people manually. It was kind of like that, kind of like a boiler room. Him and I would be pacing day in, day out, all day long, have a closing, make 30, 40,000, make 150,000, go have a beer for celebratory drink session.
Right.
And we did that for 2 or 3 years. And then once the inventory started kind of decreasing, and we're like, we need to kind of hold some of these. We made a few $100,000 over the last couple of years. We need to hold some of these. And I'll wrap it up with this. I just read in a magazine called Personal Real Estate Investor Magazine. It's basically how people syndicate today, but they were doing this on individual funded transactions, on real estate, singular parcels. But we called all our investors and said, hey, look, if you put up all the money, we know how to find these deals. You've obviously seen it because you bought some of them. We can go buy these properties with all your money. We'll acquire it. We'll fix it up, and then we'll convert it into rentals. And we'll also flip. So during that process, the market was starting to kind of heal itself. Homes were selling again. There was a shortage of housing because nobody built for several years. We're really seeing it now, 12, 13 years later. But we sold these homes. We were making great profits. We built up 100 long-term rentals with investors owning 50% of them. Will and I had 50% corporately. And we did that from, so we were working from end of 2009 to 2011, wholesaling 2011 to 2018. We acquired 100 homes, in long-term rental and commercial and stuff, as well as flipping 50 to 150 homes a year. And that's how we built our career post-recession. We just hustled. We figured stuff out for ourselves. We didn't have real estate courses. We didn't have influencers. We didn't have podcasts, HTTV, none of that stuff. We figured it out. We went out there, hustled, and it was probably one of the best decades of my life.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. It's a great lesson for folks right now as well. So it's amazing how quickly you can turn something around if you just put a little bit of elbow grease on it and a little bit of grit and make it happen. So,
well, that's all it is belief. It's unstoppable confidence. And it's just not knowing what you don't know. Just getting out there and putting your nose to the pavement and just going. Like, you just got to go. You got to do it. I mean, I had to do it to survive. I had to do it to eat. And I always knew that I wanted to retire by 30, which I still haven't done. I'm 40 now. But I could have. I was a millionaire by 30, and that was kind of the main thing. I'm like, I'm not living this life like I grew up in, and then already had it taken away from me. And then even last year got really tough. We were caught up in bridge loans again. And like, dang, it just happened fast. And, but yeah, I mean, we just don't stop. I think that's the point. You just don't give up. I think in 2008, I give up. And I also had a bad banker too. So maybe I couldn't have got out of that because I didn't want to make an example of myself. But yeah, it's just putting your nose to the grindstone, freaking working and hustling, and grit matters.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of people that going through that experience with the banker would have just thrown up their hands and said, you know what, I'm done. No more real estate for me. And you certainly have not done that. And I know you, well, we're in a mastermind together, but I didn't know you before the short-term rental. But obviously, you've met my wife, Alina, and we attended one of your short-term rental courses, which I can't say enough good things about. I mean, it took somebody from, I've got a real estate background, but I didn't have any real knowledge on short-term rental, and allowed us to successfully launch that. So thank you. Thank Tiffany. Thank, everybody that you had at the deal, because it was really powerful. How many of those have you done? Are you still doing them? What's Brandon Thompson got going on now?
So it's an interesting time in my career. So, we've made millions over the last several years. We've done well. Bought 25 short-term rentals. We're partnering with people. We're getting into commercial development. We're building brand new construction homes because there's a shortage of inventory and we want to make money. I've been teaching in the real estate space for 5 years. I've got my podcast, which has had, I'm about to have my VA go in and recategorize it. Well, on the season 1, season 2, season 3, there's 3 points to my podcast. One was when I was ending my partnership with my business partner. So I'll answer your question, but I'm going to tie it all together first. I was ending my partnership with my business partner of 7-8 years in 2018. Him and I were like, my God, hard money came back. This side and the other. Why are we getting 50% away? We can go get money now. We're readily available. I can go do my thing. You can go do your thing. We can make 3 times or 4 times the amount of money we work together. So, we separated and we made the dumbest mistake we could have ever made, which was sell all of 100 of our homes cashed out and put give our investors their money, return a principal plus their profit and put the money in our pockets. We sold prematurely, but nobody ever knew what happened in 2020, 2022, what happened. But, we walked away with $1 million, $2 million a piece, and we bought short-term rentals. We got interested in this stuff. And that was the start of my short-term rental career. Since then, I started that podcast. Originally, it was Rise Above the Ashes. It was like teaching people grit, the story that I was just telling you. So I sought out individuals who were gritty entrepreneurs who have gone through the mud, who pretty much had the shit beat out of them, verbally, mentally, physically, and whatever, mindset, like just really raw stories. I got the first 20 episodes of my podcast is really raw, gritty stories. People getting gang banged and becoming a successful entrepreneur and having to deal with that psychological damage from college rape, to people losing limbs, things like that. So that was the first 20. The next, call it 50 or so, upwards to 75 was, episode 75. That was me teaching real estate. I realized people want to hear real estate from me. So I was teaching general real estate. 75 to 175 was short-term rentals. Everybody was wanting to learn because we were freaking growing our short-term rentals. Since then, that's been 5 years. I realized by educating and teaching people and things like that, and I really love it, but I'm really losing momentum in my business. I was kind of really getting excited about everybody else's wins and kind of losing sight on my own stuff. And I saw my income curve. And that was last year, which is weird. We were used to making 7 figures in the last 2 or 3 years in a row. My income curve. So after that December event that you came out to, I really enjoyed it. I loved it. But we'd have already done 4 of those at that point. Right. And I realized I'm going to hang up the hat. I'm going to stop until I get my business up and running, until I have 7 figures on the plate this year. And then I'm going to change things. I didn't really have an end goal with what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go help people. Now it's you know what? You can't help people if you don't help yourself first. If the plane is going down, you got to put your oxygen mask on first. And that's where I kind of screwed up at. I was trying to help other people and it was making me suffer and I couldn't breathe. But now I'm taking care of myself first and then I'm going to come back. I love helping people. I love teaching. So going into this next phase, will probably be phase 4 of my podcast. It's going to come out soon. And it's going to be, there's my dog. It's going to be, awesome stuff that we're going to be doing. Always follow my podcast. I kind of pick it up when I'm going through a phase of my life and then I shut it off. And then 3 or 4 months I go MIA. That's just how I do my podcast. I'm not 100% consistent, but it does continue to build on it. But yeah, we got our Live Oak Capital, debt fund. We're building houses. We're taking, commercial spaces in our, areas in West Georgia, and we're doing adaptive reuse projects. We're, building houses. We're doing short-term rental partnerships. Well, I just want to grow, and we created a fund and have people put money in to pay them anywhere between 8 to 12% in interest based on the money that they put into our fund. And we're going to go make as much money as we can and book my team and help them make as much money as I can. And then when it's systemized and it's automated as much as possible, and I can pull myself back, that's when I'm pulling back. So I would say, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm taking care of Brandon and my family first. I'm setting it up so I don't have to keep on going and then stopping and repeating. I want this thing automated and keep on running itself like a business. And then when I start back, and I can really help people because I've already helped myself first instead of seeing everything crumble because I'm helping too many people. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's honest truth. I've helped plumbers make 6 figures, going from 50 to $500,000 a year. I've had a firefighter making $60,000-$70,000 a year to make $800,000 in the second year of real estate. I taught them how to do it in the first year of real estate. Like I've seen people like do really well with short-term rental stuff. I've taught people how to do this stuff, but I just never charged enough to make a great living off of it because I was always passionate about my own real estate investments. But during that process, I lost the gusto to really have fun with my real estate investments. And then I started seeing it crumble. So that's kind of where we're at now. We're doing fine financially, but I'm not making the money I wanted to make. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm about to I'm recreating myself now. And then we're going to go after went through the nose to the grindstone, got to the grit. And then we're going to go and blow, man. We're going to go and blow, and then we're going to help as many people as possible.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned your debt fund. Can you talk maybe a little bit about more of the details? Obviously, my listeners are professionals, many of them sales professionals. They make pretty good income and are always looking for something outside of the 401k. And that's really kind of the purpose of the show. So what's the debt fund look like?
So there's no equity place here. It's just a straight up higher ROI debt fund, basically meaning that what you put in, it's kind of like, think of it like a CD. You put your money in. We have increments starting at $25,000 on upwards to $350 plus. According to how much you put in, you'll have interest rates between 8 to almost 12%. And we're utilizing that money for Georgia real estate. Well, Georgia really, really bullish. I've got a 20-year background in real estate. We're not hurting from the economy. We're going to continue to grow. We have tons of stuff going on in the metropolitan Atlanta area. And we operate all over Metro Atlanta and in the suburbs. So what we're doing is we're taking investors' money into people. Your listeners can go to theliveoakcapital.com. We have money going in there and we're utilizing that money and we're buying up lots. We're building new homes, affordable housing to help people get homes. The median price point in Georgia now is $400,000. That's actually, so there's really nothing under $300,000. So what we're doing in $350,000. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to target the $300,000 to $350,000 price points to help people get into homes and good quality homes. So I brought on a builder as an advisor. I got my financing advisor, all these people, and I'm the fund manager. But we're building houses. We're going into these suburbs where there's still older commercial real estate there that needs to be redeveloped. We just bought a tire shop. We're converting it into mixed use play, and there's a lot of demographic shifts going into these areas. And we're taking these places and we're taking them, these old broken down ugly buildings and making them beautiful again. And it's called adaptive reutilization. And we're going to create great commercial long-term tenants. And these are smaller places. I'm not doing like big, huge, triple net lease strip centers. We're doing individual small buildings that will always thrive in a thriving downtown, and we're going to those thriving downtowns. On top of that, I have a passion for helping people, as we just spoke about. I got a local following here, because I've been in the West Georgia and the Metro Atlanta real estate meetups and things like that for 20 years. People know us, so we do hard money lending too. So first time flippers or people that are 2-3 years that still want guidance, we lend to those people, and we have first lien position. And actually every project we do, we have first lien position given to the income fund. So investors that put money in our capital fund, they actually have first lien position through the funds with that. And, we help people make money, and then we help them, with their hard money lending, making it easy for them so that they can help redevelop these communities too. So to me, it's more on a local level now. We're originally in the last few years trying to go nationally, help as many people as possible. Now it's like, I'm trying to center it down. Let me just do what I can for my communities now, which is Metro Atlanta and West Georgia and North Georgia. So we're trying to change those areas for the better to help people have better homes, new homes, and better thriving downtowns. And then every once in a while, we may do an outstate deal, but that's pretty much it. It's Georgia real estate, which the Southeast is thriving. Atlanta is a major metropolitan market and it's continuing to grow. It's going to continue to grow. I think it's the next California. For better or for worse, there's going to be a shit ton of money to be made. And that's what we want. We want to help our investors have, not only with this, have a higher ROI, have monthly to quarterly deposits. They don't have to think about it. It's automated. They have better risk mitigation, better risk mitigation. And on top of that, they have tax benefits. They have all that. And they don't have to think about real estate. You get into the real estate play, they put up their capital. It's like a CD, and you get paid and your deposits. And we give you reporting through, backlogged on websites, just like people do with funds. But we also put everybody on a text platform where we give them updates on different projects, and then see what the money's being used for day by day. 3 to 4 times a week, we're giving these updates to our investors. But man, it's fun. It's like accumulation of my 20-year career. And then I realized, you know what? Bring it back to my community. And I think that's what it's all about. We all live in our own individual communities. Why don't we start there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's super cool. And I think it's very smart with the price point that you try to hit on that new construction. There's a shortage of it, and to get something new in that price range I think there's going to be a little bit of a edge that you'll have on the market by doing that. So that's exciting. And then tell me a little bit more about that mixed use space. You've done one of these. You did it with your short-term rental office, or your real estate office, I guess would be a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
But you guys did a really nice remodel on that. And I know this is kind of in the same area, but what are you kind of envisioning on that?
So this is all part of the liveoakcapital.com fund. But yeah, we're taking old wore out buildings, and they're again redeveloping them, readapting them to modern functionality, and finding the best usage for them. I was just invited to the Biz Now conference to do moderating a panel on adaptive reuse projects. We've been doing this for years, off and on, when I find good deals. Right now we got key assets under contract and or about to be contracted. But for example, we took an old gas station, and we're like, man, this is a perfect space for an office. And we did a really nice high-end office. We bought this dilapidated gas station for $55,000. We put $70,000 into it. And then we, in renovations, and then we got it fully permanent. And then we put another $70,000 in cosmetics and high-end furniture. We're in it for $200,000, and it's worth $350,000. And my brokerage is paying rent, and investors are utilizing the capital to do really well. Our tire shop that we bought is no longer a tire shop anymore, because we pretty much got it all kind of demoed to the balls now. But we have taken a tire shop in the same city, and we're converting it into a really awesome commercial space. And we're seeking out high-end different brands to come in and use our space to pay us the most rents. So we're building it out into 4 separate spaces, essentially. So the front of it is going to be a 2,500 square foot cafe, indoor seating, and 2,500 square feet of outdoor seating. And what it looks like, what we're trying to find, and we may get an SBDC loan to do this and start a business up on our own, and possibly offer investors an equity on these as something separate from the Live Oak Capital Fund. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a high-end espresso kind of cafe, French pastries and stuff like that in the mornings, all from 6 a.m. to like 1 p.m. And then it's going to switch over, start changing the music. I've been all over the world. I've seen how they do it in Mykonos. It's really cool. Switch the music, change the vibe, and it'll go from, a wine bar, craft cocktails, and then like really nice high-end desserts. That's the front space. The middle space, completely separate, but in the same building. We're putting humidors in there. We're going to build it out to be a really high-end cigar bar. Back behind it, another separate space, we're putting a speakeasy in. People love that. And the thriving metropolitan market from Atlanta is coming into our area. We are expecting 20,000 more people from the demographic studies in the next 5 years. And people are building right now 5,000 apartments. So I might as well give them a thriving downtown community. So we're going to be putting a speakeasy in there, 1920s, 30s, kind of feel. You got the music going in. And then to that speakeasy, we're putting a staircase that takes you onto the rooftop for a private rooftop patio that you can only get accessible through the speakeasy. And we're putting a container on top and having green space up there, but it'll be a taco container truck, and a margarita bar and rooftop. And then speakeasy and the rooftop is open from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. or wherever the city will allow us to stop. And it just becomes a really cool functionality of the downtown, a modern, thriving downtown versus having a tire shop down there. So we're getting grants, we're getting freaking tax incentives and things like that. But I've also got an offer on a school right now, 50,000 square foot school next city over that we can turn into high-end luxury apartments. We've got offers on a church we can turn into luxury apartments with pickleball. It's there's 40,000 square feet there. But that's what it's all about. It's all about the local community. It's, my local community where I spend the most time is West Georgia, metropolitan Atlanta and its suburbs, and North Georgia and the mountains. We got some cool stuff going up there with short-term rentals. And that's kind of what it is. That's what our fund does. We invest in our local areas, and we know the areas safe and secure. But yeah, I'm having fun. For the first time in a while, I'm having a lot of fun. And, they say if you wake up and you're having fun, you don't really feel like you have a job. I don't feel like I have a job. I'm just enjoying life, and my investors are getting paid really well for it. And we're just having a blast in the process.
That's awesome. That sounds really neat with the speakeasy. I actually went, and part of what you said just kind of reminded me of a spot that I've been in, Huntington, Alabama. No, Huntsville, Alabama. And, yeah, they have an old school that they converted, and there's a speakeasy in there, and it's a pretty neat experience for sure. So, I think it'll be good. That's awesome. What, I know we're running short on time here. Maybe what are some, if you were to go back, obviously you've learned a lot over the years. If you were to go back to yourself starting out, or advice for maybe somebody who is starting in the real estate space, what would be that advice that you could give them?
Starting out in the real estate space. Okay, interesting question. I would say, don't do what I did. You guys have a different society now, like literally like a different way to learn. Like there is social media and HGTVs. Don't watch HGTV shows. Don't really pay attention to social media, but utilize social media to your advantage. Be loud and proud and tell everybody what you're doing. That brings people to follow you, and then that brings commerce and people to hang out and do business with you. But at the same time, be loud and proud and online. If you go to my social media on my Facebook page, I'm posting pretty much every other day, and it's about myself, my business, my family, my business, things I'm doing, and people get engaged. They don't want to see that I'm just a businessman. They want to see that I have family and I love my girls and wife. They want to see me playing with my dog. So I kind of intermix that and change that. So be loud and proud on your social media and tell the world who you are and what you're doing. That's the number one thing. And then get into these Facebook groups and find out what those communities are and those different types of real estate asset classes that you want to be in. And then find out where they're putting on meetings and get on those meetings. One of those vampire bloodsuckers that are just kind of like trying to bump elbows and siphon blood from them and knowledge.
Right.
Actually find the top producers in that room, befriend them, have active listening and question them and let them talk before you talk, and just get really excited. And then from there, go in and then serve people. And that's when you're going to get the most knowledge. That's how I did it with the brokerage back in the day when I moved from the first brokerage to the second one. I found two brothers who were experts in their field. They were flippers. And I found out how I could be a part of that and join their brokerage. And I served them, helped their clients during the day to help them make money and different profit splits off of me, all while they were flipping houses. And I asked them, hey, I'm making you guys a lot of money serving your clients for you. Can you teach me how to flip houses? And they said, absolutely. And it was just a win-win for all of us. And I think that's what it all boils down to. It has to be a win-win for everybody. And I think that's it. Just getting in the right rooms with the right people, finding out who the right people are, serving them to the best that you can, and then asking for something afterwards, at a later point. And that's it. Loud and proud and serving people. That's how you do it. And then, going back to what I said earlier, last thing is always keep 10 to 12% of cash to your net worth. If you're worth, $5 million, put $500,000 in cash, then that's the rest. Make sure that you have a buffer in case of slower times. And we didn't get into that story of last year, but like I said, last year we got caught up in, I don't want to turn around the story and do a long story again, but we got caught up in bridge loans. Guess what? I had cash and I had to see it through. I paid extension fees. I got things paid off. We took care of our investors, made things happen, and it was completely fine. But I was prepared. A lot of people just aren't prepared. And when you have the experience that we do and you learn, you learn kind of sometimes from the school of hard knocks and mistakes. And I just don't want that for anybody. I think if you just listen and you be practical, have cash, loud and proud, and serve people, you'll have the best of all worlds.
Yeah, I think so too. So, pretty amazing. Well, Brandon, I really appreciate you being on the show. I know we didn't get to a lot of stuff, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to speak again. But you've been very generous with us, in the course, and we did get a chance to meet your family, which I just thought was cool. You can tell you're a genuine guy, and just really enjoyed our time together. So. I appreciate everything that you're doing, and I know the audience will as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one.
Being that you're still here, I trust you found value in this episode. I personally wish I would have known these guests and strategies when I started my wealth creation journey. Go to wealthflow.capital to subscribe to our newsletter, and as a free gift, we will send you our quarterly market report and the top 10 things to look for in an investment opportunity. Take a minute to give our show a rating and review. Help us reach 1 million professionals by subscribing and sharing this episode with someone you know who could also find value in it.